For these adjustment layers tutorial, you guys are going to need some files from the digital server. So I'm going to double click on the digital server, go to our photo folder, and inside you'll find a folder called Adjustment Layers Lesson. I'm going to click and drag that to my desktop to make a copy. And after it copies, I'm going to right click and rename this with my first and last name underscore adjustment layers. So I know that this folder is mine. All right, and then in Photoshop, I'm going to File, Open, and I'm going to go to my desktop and find that folder that I just created, select them all and open them. Okay, so for this first one called Curves Color, we're going to go to our Layers palette, and I'm going to go to what I call the black and white cookie, but this is our adjustment layer icon, and I'm going to look for the one that's called Curves. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go to each of my RGB curves here, my output, so I'm going to pick red, and I'm going to click and drag here up, and I'm going to click and drag here down. I'm going to go to green and do the same thing, click and drag up, click and drag down, go to blue, and again I'm going to click and drag up and click and drag down, and now I can go back to my layers palette and I can click on and off, and we can see the increase in my whites and the darkness, so we can see that great effect that it has with adjusting the curves. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with a black and white image. So again, I'm going to go to my layers palette, and I'm going to go to, again, the black and white cookie, the adjustment layer icon, and I'm going to pick curves again. This time I'm going to actually select an area that I want to say that is visually what looks to be the darkest to me. So I'm going to use the little eyedropper. I'm going to set the black point. So I'm going to try to find the darkest place in it, and I think it looks like it's right inside here in this tire. So I'm going to select that dark area, and notice that it already created some dynamic range to it. So we could already see what a great job it did. So I'm going to double click back to get back in here, and then I'm going to go back to my red, green, blue channels, and again I'm going to click and drag up and down, drag up and down, and do the same with the blue. And let's see what that looks like before and after. Perfect. Okay. Next I'm going to go to levels. So again, I'm going to go back to my black and white cookie, my adjustment layer icons, and I'm going to pick levels this time. I'm going to go down to, again, each individual channel. I'm going to go to red, and I'm going to bring the slider into the very edge of the mountain and then out a little bit more. I'm going to do the same with green, bring it in and then out a little bit more, and then the same with blue. I'm going to bring it in and then out, and if I look at my layers channel, we can see the before and after of doing that. Next, I'm going to do channel mixer. So again, I'm going to go to my adjustment layers, my black and white cookie, and I'm going to pick channel mixer. And all I need to do here is click monochrome. And now we can see before and after. Just a little trick here, we notice that everything white is affected. If I actually decided to paint with black with a, let's do a soft brush here. So if I paint with black, the mask is selected. Oops, oh, I picked the wrong thing. With a brush. Let's pick a brush, soft brush, and make it smaller. I can then paint in here to actually bring some color back into the actual object. And I could double click the mask if I actually wanted to define the edge of the selection and everything, and bring some more color and stuff into that image. So it's totally up to you. That's just an extra feature that you could see where you can bring masking and the adjustment layers a little bit a step further. Okay. The next one I need to do is crop and straighten. So I'm going to bring this guy up, and for this one it's completely different, but your final image should be 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to select the crop button, and I want to make sure that this drop-down menu says WH resolution, so it's for width, height, and resolution. I want the resolution to be 300, and then my final image should be 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches in width. So I'm going to type that in, and then notice it created that bounding box. Now I'm going to click and drag to rotate this image because I want the tabletop to be aligned here with the crop grid. So keep rotating that, and we can see that this line now is adjusted. And I'm going to move it over here because I want it to be off-centered a little bit. I don't want it to be this to be quite in the center. I kind of like where that is now. I'll crop it a little bit more and put that on a hot spot using the rule of thirds. I like that way better. So now this is aligned here. This is my focal point here. And then I could either hit the check mark or I can hit enter. Okay. Now I have all 5 of these saved. Okay, in my folder, I have to hit save. Sorry, I didn't save them all. I'm going to hit save, Command S to save all of these. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to say File, Automate, Contact Sheet. And I'm going to say Choose. And I'm going to pick that folder that I just created and say Open. And then it should be 8.5 by 11, 300. And then how many? I only have 5 images here. So I'm just going to say that I want 2 columns of 3 rows so that I can get as many pictures as I want to on here. And then I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to generate that contact sheet for me. It's going to take a second. Okay, and I accidentally forgot to, I have my originals in here. So what I should have done was File, Save As, and when I was saving, I should have just picked JPEG. That would have saved over the original, and say Save. Yes, I want to replace, and say OK. Same here, File, Save As, and I can replace. So notice that, okay, it created 2 contact sheets because I said that it would only hold 6 images, 3 by 2. So we could see the before and after here, but we wanted to put it all on one page. So after you've created your one contact sheet of your adjusted images, then you're going to upload that to Google Classroom.